Secretary will call the roll.
Allen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Cannella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgiani, Glazer, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Hueso, Huff, Jackson, Latta, Leno, Leyva, Liu, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wachowski, Wolk.
A quorum is present. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and the gallery please rise? We'll be led in prayer this afternoon by our chaplain, Sister Michelle Gorman, after which please remain standing, and we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Senator Vidak.
O God of limitless embrace, the grandness of our dreams brings us before you today. We ask that in this world, where there are at least two sides to everything, that we may experience hushed hearts by trusting that all sides of everything are yours. That we may experience the liberation of knowing we are acting for the greater good of all. And that we may have the passion to continue our efforts despite the success or failure of our stance. Help us to continue to lean into your Spirit for the benefit of those who rely on our efforts. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members, privileges of the floor. Seeing none. Messages from the governor will be deemed read. Messages from the assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Motions, resolutions, and notices, members. Seeing none. Consideration of the daily file. Second reading file. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 4 with amendments, 11 with amendments, 16 with amendments, 24 with amendments, 27 with amendments, 63 with amendments, 119 with amendments.
Those have been deemed read. Thank you. Unfinished business, item 46. Senator Huff, not at his desk. Senate third reading, item 47. Senator Jackson. Are you prepared to bring this item up? Senate Bill 579. Pass on file. All right, members, file item 48. Senator Mitchell. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 655 by Senator Mitchell, an act relating to housing standards.
Please, Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and good afternoon, colleagues. Today I present Senate Bill 655, a bill that will create clarity in the Health and Safety Code by adding mold as a substandard living condition. Indoor mold growth in living spaces or domiciles is common. While data on moldy conditions in housing is scarce, we know mold is one of the most common housing complaints received by tenants' rights groups, legal aid organizations, and code enforcement agencies across the state. Scientific evidence on the adverse health impacts of exposure to mold have become increasingly clear. A 2011 review of the academic literature on the health risks associated with indoor dampness and mold found consensus on an association between dampness, water damage, visible mold or mold odor, and a wide range of respiratory and allergic health effects, including asthma, bronchitis, and respiratory infections. Because mold is not explicitly referenced in state code, local enforcement agencies are uncertain about their authority to address this common complaint. This uncertainty leads to wildly inconsistent enforcement approaches to mold across the state, ranging from taking no enforcement action to limiting enforcement to water-related issues that are identified in the code to, in a few places, enforcing mold issues as a general nuisance. Due to the growing evidence linking mold to adverse health impacts, state code needs to be updated to provide local enforcement agencies with clear authority to address these complaints. This authority should include the ability to require both the cleaning or removal of moldy materials and the remediation of underlying sources of the moisture. Current state code provides local enforcement agencies with the authority to address moisture issues. Code enforcement officers have made it clear that current law does not provide clarity when it comes to mold. My office worked very hard with advocates, code enforcement officers, and committee staff to create a clear definition of mold that would give a standard of definition across jurisdictions. We've worked with the Apartment Association on amendments to this bill, which, if this bill moves forward, we will take in the First Assembly Policy Committee that will create protections for landlords by creating a process for which a tenant must notify a landlord if mold issues have arisen in their unit. Amendments also will allow for a landlord to address any mold issues brought to their attention by a code enforcement officer in the time frame code enforcement has determined without the fear of tenants withholding rent or pursuing legal action. We want to make sure that landlords have the full opportunity to be as proactive in addressing and remediating any mold issues in their units as they have a fiduciary interest in their property. Once completed, these amendments will bring the California Apartment Association along with local associations to a neutral position. With that understanding, I respectfully ask for your aye vote to allow us to keep working on this critical public health issue.
Great. Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none? Oh, Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I certainly appreciate the motivations of the senator from Los Angeles to try to make things safer for tenants. You know, molds is a problem, especially in the coastal regions, and if you look at the toxicity of molds, there's a very small percentage of molds that have spores that actually create severe disease. Most people have allergic reactions to molds that can be simply mitigated by just taking some bleach and water and just cleaning the windowsills as one sees the dark nature of molds. I think that this is going to create a lot of more frivolous litigation against landlords, and ultimately that high cost of litigation is going to increase rents in a state that has some of the highest rents in the country. So I think this is going to affect middle class and lower income people significantly, as we will see a number of lawsuits be levied against landlords. So I'm not sure if the bill contains a warning provision in there. I certainly hope it does, that allows a landlord that may not know that there is a leak in a roof that may create some mold that's creating a problem, will have the appropriate time to mitigate that damage and the mold. But just understand that molds are an everyday part of life. We have yeasts and molds that live within our bodies that keep bacteria in check. There's molds in every dwelling unit in the state of California, defining what is the amount of mold that creates a toxic situation for tenants or anyone living in their homes. Certainly can be up for debate. But I think in the way that this bill is written, it's going to increase significant lawsuits against landlords, increase rents for middle class and lower class individuals, and for that reason, I must rise in opposition to the bill and urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Any more debate or discussion? Senator Mitchell, you may close.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the concerns raised by my colleague. I will restate that we are working very closely with various representation of landlords, primarily the Apartment Association, again, to create protections for landlords by creating a process for which a tenant must notify a landlord if mold issues have arisen in their unit. Clearly, it is not our intent to attempt to displace middle-class or low-income Californians who rely on a healthy, vibrant rental housing unit. That is not our intention, nor is it my intention to allow folks who live in rental units to have their health compromised, whether it's allergic reaction or otherwise, to molds, if the mold there is beyond their responsibility, ultimately. And so with that, I ask that you support the bill, allow us to continue the work in the second house to come up with a base level standard so that enforcement entities across the state have direction in state code by which they can rely on. And so we have consistent application of citations across the state of California. I ask for your aye vote on SB 655.
Great. Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Anderson? No. Bates? No. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? No. Block? Cannella? De Leon? Fuller? No. Gaines? No. Galgiani? Glazer? Hall? Hancock? Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Hill? Aye. Hueso? Aye. Huff? Jackson? Aye. Lara? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leyva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Mitchell? Aye. Morrell? Wynn? No. Nielsen? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye. Huff, no.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Allen? Aye. Block? Aye. Cannella? De Leon? Galgiani? Glazer? Hall? Hancock? Hertzberg? Morrell? No.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Cannella? De Leon? Galgiani? Glazer? Hall? Hancock? Hertzberg?
Senator Mitchell moves the call. Members, let us move on to file item 50. Senator Stone, are you prepared to bring this forward? Okay. Great. We'll pass temporarily. File item 51. Senator Galgiani, not at her desk. File item 52. Senator Pan. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 58 by Senator Pan relative to Filipino American History Month.
Senator Pan.
Thank you, Mr. President, members. With the support of Assemblymember Rob Bonta, who's the first Filipino American to be elected to the California State Legislature, it's an honor to present to you SCR 58, which recognizes October as Filipino American History Month. This resolution also celebrates the rich contributions that Filipinos and Filipino Americans have made to California and the U.S., a history that dates back 428 years. Filipino presence is constantly found throughout our history's biggest achievements. With the help of Filipinos, Father Junipero Serra was able to establish the California mission system. Filipinos and Filipino Americans have made contributions to our agricultural endeavors, which would eventually lead to Larry Italong and Philip Veracruz, two prominent Filipino Americans, to play a significant role in the labor movement with Cesar Chavez. These are only a few examples, but as Filipinos and Filipino Americans continue to be a large part of our California and U.S. history, we should celebrate their contributions to our society by establishing October as Filipino American History Month. Thank you, and respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Pan. Senator Nielsen.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I rise in strong support the recognition of our Filipino Americans. I've had the pleasure over the years of representing an awful lot and having many being my very good friends. I've also studied the history of the Philippines, and what a rich history. Turbulent sometimes, but a rich history indeed. And those who came here just like many other ethnicities, have brought their wonderful traditions, many of which I've been a part of. One of which I've been embarrassed by. They have a dance that they hit big bamboo poles together, and one time the senator was doing the dance thing and the bamboo poles crashed together on my ankle and I fell out on the floor in front of everybody. In any event, I suppose that fallibility endeared them to me and me to them. But to my point, they are great contributors, marvelous worth ethnic of the Filipino community, very essential contributions to the future of America. I laud them and salute them with this day.
Great. Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Any more debate or discussion? Seeing none, Senator Pan, you may close.
I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Aye. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Hueso, aye. De Leon. Hancock. Hertzberg. Huff.
Ayes 36, no 0. Resolution is adopted. All right, members, moving on to file number 53. Senator Hueso, not at his desk. File item 55. Senator Jackson, are you prepared to bring this measure forward? Pass on file. File item 56, Senator Wen. Pass temporarily. File item 57, Senator Hernandez. Not at his desk. File item 58, Senator Runner. Pass temporarily. File item 59, Senator Allen. Pass temporarily. File item 60, Senator Block. Pass temporarily. Senator Wen, for what purpose do you rise?
For file number 56, Mr. President.
Great. Wonderful.
Mr. President, today I rise to present SCR
Excuse
54.
me. Senator Wen, Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 54 by Senator Wynn relative to Disneyland.
I know everybody's looking at me. It's not about me, huh? It's somebody behind me that everybody's excited about. Mr. President, again, today I rise to present SCR 54 to honor June 1st, 2015 as Disneyland Day in California. You know, I have to tell you, I took a big risk in doing this because my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old would never forgive me if they see this photo today. And the other thing, though, is I do know if, you know, once my 2-year-old ever get older, Timothy, he's going to appreciate this video because I have to let you know that he calls Mickey Mouse Maymau. So, you know, I'm honored to present Maymau today to you all. With me today is the president of Disneyland Resort, Michael Cole Glazer, the Disneyland team, and of course, Mickey Mouse. On the floor, I often hear members speaking about your district, the best wine district, the best beach district, the best craft beer district. But I have to tell you, though, I have the happiest district on earth. On July 17th, 1955, Walt Disney opened the first Disneyland park in Anaheim, California. 60 years later, Disneyland has expanded from a single theme park with one hotel into a full-scale resort with 2 parks, 2,500 hotel rooms, and a variety of restaurants and retail locations. Not only does Walt Disney's venture attract 25 million people a year, but the Disneyland Resort provides 28,000 jobs in Orange County, making it one of the largest single-site employers in the state of California. Worldwide, Disney theme parks have become an American icon, with parks from the United States all the way to Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, and very soon to be Shanghai. The park has become so successful that it has provided this state with one of the world's top 10 most visited theme parks while contributing $5 billion annually to the Southern California's economy. SCR 54 will also mark Disneyland's 60th anniversary of creating fun and magic for all to enjoy while providing job opportunities and economic growth for the benefit of California residents. For the last 60 years, Disney truly has been the happiest place on earth for children and adults. I respectfully ask for an aye vote to name June 1st today as Disney Day in California.
Thank you very much, Senator Wen. Let's welcome both Michael and Mickey. Thank you. Any more debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Aye. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Glazer, aye. Anderson. De Leon. Lada. Leyva. Aye. Nielsen. Aye.
Ayes 37, no 0. Measure passes. Great. Senator Wen.
Thank you. Also, again, on behalf of the California State Senate, I want to present the President of Disneyland, Michael Colglazer, and Mickey Mouse with this resolution to honor 60 years of magic and fun that Disneyland has brought to California and the rest of the world. At 2 p.m., Senators, there will be a members-only reception in room 211 for photos with Mickey Mouse, and I believe Pluto is around here as well. So you do get that opportunity on one-on-one as well.
Mm-hmm. We're grateful to have Mickey and Michael here and the contribution that Disneyland has made throughout the world. Thank you. All right, moving along, members, if we could. File item 57. Senator Hernandez, are you prepared to bring this measure forward? Secretary, please read.
Senate Joint Resolution 8 by Senator Hernandez relative to Medicare.
Mr. President, members, this resolution addresses the problematic practice of observation stays In 2013, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services issued a policy commonly referred to as Two-Midnight Rule, which only permits inpatient admissions for patients expected to stay at least 2 nights. Patients not meeting this rule are kept under observation status, often without their knowledge. One of the problems of this policy is that Medicare beneficiaries have to spend 3 days in the hospital as an inpatient in order to qualify for skilled nursing care. Many Medicare patients are finding that 1 or more of their days spent in the hospital was an outpatient under observation status, and that they are not qualified to receive the skilled nursing care upon discharge. This resolution urges the federal government to address the problem of Two-Midnight Rule by ensuring that hospital admission is based on the clinical needs of the patients as determined by the physician rather than on an arbitrary period of time. And with that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Galgioni. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leba. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Fuller, aye. De Leon. Huff.
Great. Ayes 38, no 0. Resolution is adopted. All right, members, moving on to file item 58. Senator Runner. Secretary, please read.
Senate Resolution 30 by Senator Runner relative to Scleroderma Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise today to encourage you to join me in recognizing June as Scleroderma Month. While we still don't know the specific cause of scleroderma, it's typically described as a rheumatic disease of the connective tissues. It's chronic degenerative disorder accompanied by widespread vascular deterioration and tissue loss. Hundreds of thousands of people suffer from the various types of scleroderma, and as many as 10,000 patients die every year from the most serious form of the disease. 80% of those affected with scleroderma are women, and it strikes men and children across all ages and ethnic boundaries. As many of you know, I was diagnosed with scleroderma at the age of 30. In my case, the disease affected my lungs, eventually requiring me to need a double lung transplant that I received in 2012. I'm grateful daily for both the selfless generosity of my organ donor and the tireless work of my doctors. Thanks to them, I'm able to experience this wonderful second chance at life. I think it's also important to recognize the hard work and sacrifice of the families and friends of those living with scleroderma. A good support system is an absolute necessity as part of living with this disease. I know I would not have been able to make it through the years of struggling with scleroderma without the love and support of my family, especially my husband. So join me in supporting the hundreds of thousands who continue to live with scleroderma by approving SR 30, declaring June as Scleroderma Awareness Month. Ask for your aye vote.
Great, thank you, Senator Runner. Senator Morlock, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some of these diseases you get to see on the floor that we recognize, sometimes one is very personal. And so I rise in support of this resolution, this June as Scleroderma Awareness Month. colleagues, just to make it personal, my mother-in-law, Gladys Grace Lee Meyer, her maiden name was Van Skyndel, died prematurely due to scleroderma and missed her granddaughter's wedding and her 2 great-grandchildren. So I want to thank the senator from Lancaster for recognizing this critical concern. Thank you, Mr.
Great. Thank you, Senator Morlock. Any more debate or discussion? Senator Runner, would you like to close?
Just ask for an aye vote, and thank you, the senator from Orange County. I know it's something a lot of us aren't in contact with, but once you know somebody that's had scleroderma, you realize the difficulty that's involved. So I'm thankful to be on the floor today and recognizing this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Senator Runner. Members, is there any objection to using a substitute previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0. Measure passes. All right, members, moving on to file item 59, Senator Allen. Pass on file. All right. File item 60, Senator Block. Pass on file. File item 61, Senator Galgiani. Pass on file. File item 62, Senator Bell. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 321 by Senator Bell, an act relating to taxation.
Mr. President, members, SB 321 has bipartisan support and unanimous support in the policy committees. The bill simply reduces the volatility of the Board of Equalization's annual adjustment of the state gasoline excise tax rate. Currently the law known as the gas tax swap requires the Board of Equalization to annually adjust the state's excise tax rate. The adjustment is so the state collects the same amount we would have otherwise collected if we were still charged sales tax on gasoline. Volatility in the tax rate is bad for everyone. Taxpayers experience big changes in their bills at the pump, and local governments cannot budget for road repairs that this funding pays for. SB 321 reduces this volatility by changing the way the Board of Equalization estimates the gas prices. Instead of basing the estimate on last year's price, SB 321 requires the Board of Equalization to use a 5-year averaging. SB 321 enjoys significant support, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Great. Thank you, Senator Bell. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none. Members, is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0. Measure passes. Members, file item 63. Amendments are pending. Okay. File item 64, Senator Vidak. Pass on file. File item 66, Senator Anderson. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Anderson, an act relating to taxation to take effect immediately, tax levy.
Senator Anderson.
SB 2 protects our veterans halls from shutting their doors permanently by recognizing they are congressionally chartered 501c19 nonprofits. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none. Is there, members, is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0.